For tens of thousands of Americans with crippled or non-existent immune systems, a drug called immune globulin, IG, can be the difference between life and death. Fact is, immune globulin has become so vital that it's now being prescribed for dozens of different illnesses, many of them affecting children whose lives could be in danger without their regular dose of IG. So, when IG suddenly became hard to find, a lot of patients, young and old, along with their doctors and pharmacists, became frightened and angry too. They want to know whether someone, someplace in the supply chain, is cynically manipulating the IG market just to increase profits.
I think there are vultures out there in the blood supply. I think there are people who are making money off the lives of American kids.
Dr. Arthur Kaplan, a medical ethicist at the University of Pennsylvania, heads a U.S. government advisory panel that is investigating why American kids, like Elaine DePrince's son Teddy, are having trouble getting IG. Without it, Teddy could die.
My Teddy has no immunity to measles, mumps, chickenpox, polio, any childhood illnesses.
Why?
Because he no longer produces antibodies. And
So he needs immune globulin.
He needs immune globulin, which contains these antibodies.
Several months ago, she got a call from the company that had been supplying Teddy with his monthly dose of intravenous IG.
And they said, "Oh, Mrs. DePrince, we hate to tell you, but we can't get immune globulin for Teddy this month." And I was panic-struck.
So to save her son, Mrs. DePrince resorted to the ghoulish task of calling the families of patients who had died in search, hopefully, of their leftover IG.
And sadly enough, I used the immune globulin that was given to me by the grandmother of a young boy with hemophilia who died of AIDS.
Yet another case of shortage. To Charlotte Cunningham Rundles, an immunologist at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City, is also having trouble finding enough IG.
This is the one that's in short supply is the problem, yeah.
She says her hospital has to infuse about 100 patients a month with it.
We have no confirmed shipments right now, even for next week. And it's been very much this way since, I would say, November, perhaps. We don't know next week whether we'll have enough to give to each patient.
At any given time in the United States, in a children's hospital, someone is trying to make a decision about which child is going to get IVIG, immunoglobulin, in that hospital because there isn't enough of it. They're going to be making triage decisions about this vital substance.
Triage decisions being this one gets it and
that one doesn't. And will that person be dead the next morning? Probably not that fast. But are they at risk of dying because they didn't get it? Absolutely.
Investigators wonder why IG is so hard to find because America is the world's leading manufacturer of IG, and because there's no shortage of human blood plasma, the raw material used to make the drug. Unlike volunteer blood donors who are not paid, plasma donors usually get about $15 to $20 each time they give plasma. With money as their incentive, almost 2 million Americans give plasma about 13 million times a year. The drug companies buy this plasma and then turn it into drugs like IG, which can end up costing patients as much as several $1,000s every month. To learn why the drug is so hard to get, we wanted to talk to the companies that make IG in the U.S., Bayer, Baxter Healthcare, Centeon, Alpha Therapeutic, but none of them would talk to us on camera. So we went to a scientific conference to ask Alpha's Vice President, Sue Preston, why the manufacturers talk to us.
I don't really have a comment on that.
The manufacturers eventually referred us to Jan Bolt, who runs their trade association in Washington.
It's a great concern to all of us working in this industry. Our member companies work 7 days per week, 24 hours a day to manufacture enough products and to deliver them to those patients in critical need.
Mr. Bolt says the drug has simply become too popular as more doctors are prescribing it for more diseases. And it is not easy, he says, to turn it out in sufficient bulk. But there's another reason that IG is hard to find in this country. We have found that the U.S. companies that make it have been quietly shipping about 1/5 of it, or nearly $100 million worth, overseas every year.
I do wonder why my son will be deprived of plasma and it's being shipped to Japan or Europe.
We put that question to Dr. Michael Friedman, the top official at the Food and Drug Administration, which regulates the blood plasma industry.
Why abroad? If there's a shortage in the United States, please explain to me why so much of what is manufactured here in the United States goes abroad.
The companies that are producing these products are either partly owned or have very close financial relationships with foreign manufacturers, foreign organizations, and they serve a worldwide clientele. The Food and Drug Administration has no authority, no regulatory control over where these products are shipped.
But the industry sees nothing wrong with exporting immune globulin made from blood plasma that comes from Americans, even if it is in short supply here.
If you're a patient in the United States, Europe or elsewhere, you need treatment, you get the treatment. We're all children of the same God.
That may be true, but so is another fact. IG commands higher prices in some countries outside the United States, although Mr. Bolt, the industry spokesman, says he has no idea just what IG costs or sells for.
But you certainly have a knowledge of whether it's being sold for more elsewhere.
I told you, I'm not aware of any price situation for immunoglobulins per gram or whatever.
Well, it's my understanding, Mr. Bolt, that in 1996, which is the most recent year available, intravenous immune globulin, on average, sold for 15% more in Europe than in the United States, and about 150% more in Japan than in the United States. What's that all about?
Well, first of all, I can tell you that we are not involved in any of the prices you mentioned, and I'm not aware of all the differences.
There is